The identity of Eleven's biological father has been one of Stranger Things' biggest mysteries. We know Terry Ives is her mother, we know Dr. Brenner kidnapped baby Jane, but who got Terry pregnant? A prequel novel claimed it was a college student named Andrew Rich who died in Vietnam. That name has never appeared once in the show. Based on Season 4 and the Broadway play The First Shadow, there's a disturbing theory. Henry Creel is Eleven's biological father. Dr. Brenner used Henry's DNA to artificially inseminate Terry without her knowledge during MKUltra. When you examine the timeline in Brenner's experiments, the evidence is impossible to ignore. The timeline fits perfectly. Start with the basic math. Henry Creel was born in 1947, according to Season 4. That means when Eleven was born, on June 7, 1971, Henry was 24 years old. He'd been imprisoned at Hawkins Lab since 1959, when Dr. Brenner took custody of him after the murders of Virginia and Alice Creel. For 12 years before Eleven's birth, Henry had been Brenner's captive test subject, designated as Number 1. Terry Ives began participating in Project MKUltra at Hawkins Lab in 1969. She was a college student from Bloomington, Indiana, drawn to the program because Brenner advertised it as groundbreaking research that would expand the boundaries of the human mind. Terry had no idea she was actually pregnant when the experiments began. She only discovered her pregnancy during the trials. According to Season 2, Terry gave birth in 1971. Then Brenner immediately stole the baby and told Terry she'd miscarried. The official Missing Teen poster released for Season 5 confirms Eleven's birth date as June 7, 1971. Here's where the timeline becomes significant. Terry was 19 years old in 1969 when she started at Hawkins Lab. She turned 20 in 1970 while still undergoing experiments. She gave birth at age 20 in 1971. The entire span of her pregnancy occurred while she was inside Brenner's facility, subjected to his control. During those same years, Henry Creel was 22 to 24 years old, physically mature, and locked in the same laboratory under Brenner's complete authority. If Brenner wanted to use Henry's genetics to create the perfect psychic child, this was his window. Terry was young, healthy, already pregnant, or about to become pregnant, and completely unaware of what Brenner's true experiments involved. Henry was the only confirmed natural psychic Brenner had ever encountered. The timing wasn't coincidence, it was authority. Brenner used Henry's blood to create all the children. The First Shadow, the official Broadway prequel play that premiered in London in 2023 and transferred to Broadway in 2025, revealed the method Brenner used to create the numbered children. It wasn't just LSD and sensory deprivation tanks. Brenner transfused Henry Creel's blood into the pregnant women participating in MKUltra. The play explicitly shows Brenner informing a restrained Henry that the blood transfusions administered to test subjects had been successful. Brenner points to a pregnant woman and says to Henry, "1, meet 2. Then Brenner delivers the critical line, "You are as much a father to them as I am." That phrasing matters. Brenner wasn't speaking metaphorically, he was acknowledging biological reality. Henry's unique blood was the source of the children's powers. Brenner gave volunteer test subjects experimental drugs while placing them in sensory deprivation tanks. But these women also received transfusions of Henry Creel's blood. Brenner then abducted the unborn children of the pregnant test subjects, correctly assuming the experimentation would cause the children to develop versions of Henry's abilities. The play's final scene takes this even further. The London production ends with an older, restrained Henry holding newborn Eleven in his arms. Henry looks at the baby and says, "I am excited to see you, 011. I have plans for us." Even though the show makes clear Henry isn't related to the lab kids through traditional conception, The First Shadow deliberately played into the father, guardian, creator metaphor. Brenner created these children using Henry's genetic material. Their powers came from his blood. Brenner himself told Henry he was as much their father as Brenner was. If you're finding this theory fascinating, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on, because we're about to examine the most disturbing evidence of all. Terry was already pregnant before the transfusions. Here's the crucial detail that separates Eleven from the other numbered children. The First Shadow clarifies that Terry Ives was already pregnant when Dr. Brenner conducted the blood transfusions with Henry. Multiple sources confirm Terry didn't know she was pregnant when MKUltra began. She discovered the pregnancy during the experiments. This creates a timeline problem for the traditional explanation of how Eleven got her powers. If Terry conceived Eleven naturally with Andrew Rich before entering Hawkins Lab, then became pregnant during her time in the MKUltra program, 11 would have been in utero when Brenner administered Henry's blood transfusions. A fetus shares its mother's bloodstream. Everything Terry received during those experiments, 11 received too. The drugs, the sensory deprivation effects, and most importantly, Henry Creel's unique blood all affected 11 while she was developing in the womb. But there's another possibility the show has never ruled out. What if Terry wasn't pregnant when she arrived at Hawkins' lab? What if Brenner made her pregnant? The novel, Suspicious Minds, claims Andrew Rich was 11's father, saying he was dating Terry before he got drafted to Vietnam. But here's the problem with that narrative. The book says 11 was born in June 1970. The show's dialogue in The Monster refers to Terry's miscarriage occurring 12 years before 1983, which is 1971. The official Season 5 promotional materials confirm 11's birth date as June 7, 1971. The novel got the year wrong. More significantly, Andrew Rich has never been mentioned in the television show. Not once. Not in 4 complete seasons. When 11 visits Terry's house in Season 2 and meets her Aunt Becky, nobody mentions Andrew Rich. When 11 enters Terry's memories and witnesses the moment Brenner took baby Jane, there's no reference to a boyfriend or husband. When Terry's lawsuit against Brenner is discussed, Andrew Rich doesn't appear in any documents. The show has had multiple opportunities to confirm this character's existence, and it hasn't done so. That absence is deliberate. The Duffer Brothers supervised the creation of the first Shadow, working directly with the play's writers. They didn't supervise Suspicious Minds. The novel might be officially licensed, but the show is the primary canon. And the show hasn't confirmed who 11's biological father is. The genetic evidence is overwhelming. Season 4 established that Henry Creel possessed natural psychokinetic abilities from childhood. His powers weren't given to him by experiments. They developed around puberty after his 12-hour exposure to Dimension X softened his blood type to something unique, something not on any medical record. Dr. Brenner spent years trying to recreate those abilities in other people through MK-Ultra. He used psychedelic drugs, sensory deprivation, psychological torture, and physical abuse on adult volunteers. None of it worked. The test subjects didn't develop powers. Brenner couldn't artificially create what Henry had naturally. Then Brenner changed his approach. Instead of trying to give adults psychic powers, he targeted pregnant women. He administered drugs and sensory deprivation to the mothers, but the real key was Henry's blood. Brenner transfused Henry Creel's unique blood into these women while they were pregnant. The children born from these pregnancies developed abilities. All gained versions of Henry's powers through their mothers receiving his blood in utero. 11's abilities are identical to Henry's. Both have telekinesis, both have telepathy, both can enter the void and project their consciousness, both can open gates to the upside down. Both became stronger by channeling painful memories. In Season 4, when Henry is disguised as the Orderly, he teaches 11 his secret for harnessing power. He tells her to find a memory that makes her sad, but also angry. That's exactly how Henry's own abilities work. He's not teaching her a technique that works for everyone. He's teaching her the technique that works for him, because they share the same fundamental power source. Season 4 went out of its way to establish similarities between Henry and 11 that don't exist with the other numbered children. When 2, 3, 4, and 5 gang up on 11 after she beats 2 in Brenner's competition, Henry specifically warns her they're planning to kill her. He tells 11 that Brenner knows she's more powerful than the others and can't control her. That's the same situation Brenner faced with Henry 20 years earlier. Henry was too powerful to control, so Brenner implanted a chip to suppress his abilities. 11 was the only other child at Hawkins' lab who matched that level of power. The parallel isn't accidental. What did you think of this evidence? Does it change how you view 11 and Vecna's connection? Comment your thoughts below. Brenner's language reveals the truth. Throughout Stranger Things, Dr. Brenner refers to the numbered children as siblings. He calls them brothers and sisters. The show presents this as Brenner creating a false family structure to psychologically control the children. But the first Shadow revealed Brenner wasn't entirely lying. The children really are siblings. They all share Henry Creel's blood. They're genetically connected through their common DNA source. When Brenner tells Henry, "You are as much a father to them as I am," he's stating biological fact. Brenner created these children by stealing their mother's pregnancies and infusing the fetuses with Henry's genetic material through blood transfusions. In a very real sense, Henry is their biological father, and Brenner is their creator. Both statements are true. The numbered children exist because Brenner used Henry's DNA to make them. This explains why 11 was special to both Brenner and Henry. To Brenner, 11 represented the perfection of his technique. She was more powerful than any previous subject, including Henry himself in some ways. In Season 4, when 11 fights Henry in 1979, she's 8 years old and defeats him. An 8-year-old child with the same powers as Henry, only potentially stronger. That's exactly what Brenner spent 20 years trying to create. To Henry, 11 represented something different. The play shows Henry holding newborn 11 and saying he has plans for them. In Season 4, when Henry reveals his true identity to 11 before the massacre, he tells her they're the same. He says she's been lied to, just like he was. He genuinely wants her to join him in reshaping the world. Henry sees 11 as the only person who can understand him, not just because they both suffered under Brenner, but because they share something fundamental. If Henry is her biological father, that connection goes beyond shared trauma. It's blood. The theory explains 11's unique position. Among all the numbered children, 11 was always different. She was kept isolated more than the others. Brenner subjected her to harsher experiments. She was locked in the punishment room more frequently. The Season 4 teaser showed young 11 separated from the other test subjects, kept alone behind a door marked with her number, while the other children played together in the rainbow room. Brenner treated 11 differently because she was different. If 11 is Henry's biological daughter through Brenner's artificial insemination of Terry, that would explain her elevated status. She wouldn't just carry Henry's blood like the other children. She'd be his actual offspring, created from his genetic material deliberately combined with Terry's. The other numbered children got Henry's powers secondhand through blood transfusions their mothers received. 11 would have inherited those abilities directly through conception. That's why her powers surpassed everyone else's. That's why Brenner isolated her. That's why Henry fixated on her specifically. The theory also explains Terry's pregnancy mystery. In Season 2, Becky tells Hopper and Joyce that Terry always insisted she had a daughter, but nobody believed her because Brenner claimed she miscarried. Terry knew she'd been pregnant. She knew she'd given birth. She remembered seeing her baby girl alive, but she had no documentation, no medical records, no proof the child existed. How did Terry get pregnant in the first place? The novel says it was Andrew Rich, but the show never confirms this. The show never shows Terry with a boyfriend. The show never explains how a college student became pregnant while participating in a government experiment. Brenner had means, motive, and opportunity to make Terry pregnant himself, using Henry's genetic material. He had access to both Terry and Henry. He was conducting reproductive experiments on pregnant women. He was trying to create the perfect psychic child. Taking Terry's eggs and fertilizing them with Henry's genetic material would have given Brenner complete control over the conception, pregnancy, and birth. Terry would never have known. She would just think she'd gotten pregnant naturally, maybe not even remembering when or how it happened, given all the drugs Brenner was pumping into her system. This completely changes the 11 Vecna dynamic. If this theory is correct, then Season 4's confrontation between 11 and Vecna takes on an entirely new meaning. When 11 fights Vecna in his mindscape, she's not just battling a former lab experiment, she's fighting her biological father. When Vecna tells her they're the same, he's speaking literal truth. When he says they're meant to reshape the world together, he's trying to recruit his own daughter to his genocidal plan. The Star Wars parallel becomes impossible to ignore. Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, the dark side villain revealing he's the hero's father. The attempt to turn the child to evil, the ultimate rejection and battle. Multiple articles and fan discussions have pointed out this connection. The difference is that in Star Wars, the father-child relationship was revealed as a twist. In Stranger Things, it might have been hidden in plain sight the entire time. This also recontextualizes 11's journey across all 4 seasons. She's been unknowingly carrying her father's power, fighting against her father's influence, and trying to stop her father's plans without ever knowing he was her father. Brenner literally told her he was her papa, but that was a lie. Hopper became her adopted father in Seasons 2 and 3, giving her the healthy paternal relationship she needed. And all along, her real biological father was the source of every monster, every gate, every death connected to the Upside Down. Season 5 could reveal this truth and force 11 to confront the ultimate question. Can she defeat Vecna knowing he's her father? Should she try to save him or destroy him? Will learning about her true parentage make her doubt her own goodness? Or will it strengthen her resolve to be different from where she came from? The Duffer Brothers have said Season 5 will answer fundamental questions about the show's mythology. The identity of Eleven's biological father is one of the biggest remaining mysteries. The evidence has always been there. Henry Creel was 24 when Eleven was born. Terry Ives was pregnant during MK-Ultra experiments at Hawkins' lab. Brenner gave pregnant MK-Ultra subjects transfusions of Henry's blood. All the numbered children gained their powers from Henry's blood. Brenner told Henry, "You are as much a father to them as I am." Eleven's powers are identical to Henry's powers. The show has never revealed Eleven's biological father's identity. Andrew Rich from the novel has never appeared in the show. The only missing piece is explicit confirmation that Brenner used Henry's genetic material to artificially inseminate Terry, creating Eleven as Henry's biological daughter. But Brenner using Henry's blood in pregnant women is canon. Brenner calling Henry a father to the numbered children is canon. And Eleven being the most powerful and most genetically similar to Henry is canon. The theory connects dots the show has already drawn. Whether the Duffer Brothers intended this interpretation from the beginning or built it as they developed later seasons, the evidence supports it. The first shadow didn't retcon anything. It revealed information that had always been true but hidden. Season 4 didn't contradict earlier seasons, it explained them. The theory that Vecna is Eleven's biological father isn't wild speculation. It's a logical conclusion drawn from facts the show has presented. This doesn't make Henry Creel a father in any meaningful sense. He didn't raise Eleven. He didn't protect her. He manipulated her, tried to turn her evil, and became the greatest threat she ever faced. Biology doesn't equal parenthood. Hopper is Eleven's real father because he chose to love her, protect her, and sacrifice for her. But biology does matter when understanding where Eleven's powers came from, why she's stronger than the other numbered children, and why Vecna has always treated her differently than everyone else. The most disturbing part of this theory isn't the genetics. It's the realization that Dr. Brenner created Eleven specifically to be Henry's genetic offspring. He looked at his first test subject, the boy with unprecedented natural psychic abilities, and thought, what if I could make another one, but this time control them from birth? What if I took this child's DNA and created the next generation? Brenner turned reproductive science into a weapon. He violated Terry Ives in ways she never understood. He created Eleven not as a person, but as an experiment, and he succeeded. Eleven became exactly what Brenner designed her to be, the ultimate psychic weapon created from the ultimate psychic threat. Season 5 will determine if this theory is confirmed or rejected, but right now, based purely on what the show has already told us, the evidence points in one direction. Vecna isn't just Eleven's opposite. He's not just her greatest enemy. He's not just the source of her powers. He might be her biological father. And if that's true, then Stranger Things has been building toward a confrontation that's not just about good versus evil or hero versus villain. It's about a daughter facing the monster her father became and choosing to be everything he isn't. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the most disturbing theory about Eleven's origins, subscribe with notifications turned on, and I'll see you in the next video about Stranger Things Season 5 predictions.